Previously on Coffeezilla.
We're not gonna take millions of dollars to our fans ever, bro. We won't take any sponsorship money, nothing, bro. Like,
I don't do that from selling t-shirts, dude. It's actually impossible.
Now, Coffee, is there a way where it's like, you just make this like right?
So, would you do it?
Oh, most definitely. Do you see where I'm working? $12 million a year would go a long way.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem though. Money can make people do almost anything.
If I had $12 million, I'd go crazy. The first thing I'd do is buy pants. Lots and lots of pants.
I mean, for that kind of money, people can justify literally anything.
I don't even think people notice, to be honest. All they see is the shirt, but it's surprisingly drafty back here. And I just feel I need to commit one way or the other.
People are committing Wait, are you listening to me?
Oh, sorry, Coffee. Something ethical dilemma, right? Look, let me help you. You've got these guys by the balls, right? But what you need is...
I don't like where this is going.
You gotta squeeze them hard, Coffee. Like a pair of tight jeans.
Alright, yeah, I've heard enough. I'm leaving.
No, wait, I'm serious. What I mean is, there can't be breathing room for these influencers. Like a nice new pair of tight jeans. You gotta make an airtight case here, starting with why this whole offshore thing is unethical in the first place.
Come on, you don't think the audience already knows that?
We're talking about your average Nelk viewer?
Oh, that's a good point. Okay, I think you're right. I'm gonna go back to the $10 million studio and work on this. Thanks for the drinks. I'll pay the tab next time.
Yeah. Internet detective.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reasons pushing gambling on people is bad is obvious. But I still want to explain it for people who still might have questions like this. What's the difference between Steve promoting Roobet and literally every sports broadcasting network promoting sports betting? You know what? It's a valid point. Both are gambling, and with gambling, yes, you're going to lose money. And gambling addiction is a very real thing. People's lives are ruined, especially from things like slots. But this isn't a dare presentation, okay? There is another side to this. Gambling can be a lot of fun. So I want to make it clear, I'm not against gambling. I'm not anti-sports betting. I'm anti-promoting fake high-stakes gambling to young audiences from illegal jurisdictions with little or no help for gambling addicts. I hope that clears my position up. All right, fine. Let me break this down a bit. Let's start with the fake money these streamers use, or sponsored money as it's called. I've heard a lot of people say that these streams promoting gambling is the same as promoting any vice, like smoking or drinking.
The same way that there's laws with drinking, smoking, right? It's
Agreed.
A vice.
And this simply isn't true. For one, when advertising most vices, you're at least taking on the same risks of the vice as the people you're promoting that vice to. For example, if you're a streamer and you want to be sponsored by a cigarette company and you're being paid every time someone picks up smoking, part of the deal would be you'd have to smoke, and that smoking would give you cancer just as fast as the people you're promoting it to. But with casinos and fake money, that isn't the case, is it? The price of a gambling vice isn't a hangover or bad lungs, it's just being poor and broke. And when you're playing with fake money, you don't have that problem. And we know these streamers are aware of that fact because they've been literally caught talking about it.
If I started putting my own money in this, I feel like if I just filled myself with 4,000, right? I feel like I could but also it could be dangerous. But I see it as there's no point in putting my body or your mind through that type of stress. I don't need it.
Definitely don't need that, bro.
Don't need the stress. Don't want to put your body through that kind of stress. These guys are unreal. Steve is literally saying here, the thing that I'm putting my fans through, I would never go through myself. I mean, who needs it?
I don't need it.
And by the way, just so we're clear, the people maddest about this fake money stuff, it really isn't me. It's actually the real money gamblers who know how ridiculous these fake high-stakes gambling streamers are.
I'm sick of these sites scamming with all their fake piece of streamers. How dumb are you? You think these guys are betting $70 million a day? You are dumb, fucking stupid, fucking 20 IQ.
Wow. Sometimes it really isn't what you say, it's how you say it. All right, fine. If the ethical thing really doesn't get you up in the morning, how about the fact that many of these people are literally illegally gambling in the US and know their fans are going to do the same? For example, here's Steve in his Miami condo.
No.
Wait, pause right there. Do you see that Howlerhead whiskey logo? Pay attention, because in some of Steve's gambling streams, you could see the same logo from the background, which is weird because I thought he was going to Mexico. This isn't legal because Roobet can't operate in the US, but here Steve is in Miami playing on Roobet. But of course, these guys don't really care. And of course, the same is true for Aiden Ross. We've caught him as well in America gambling. Here he is in his room on Roobet'S. So what does this actually mean, though? Well, it means that the fans of these streamers who are sometimes gambling in the US then go out and use a VPN to also gamble from the US, and they discuss this pretty openly. Quote, it's banned in the US. Use a VPN. They know their users are using a VPN. As long as they enforce global laws, they are safe. So they don't stop you from using a VPN. At Happy, I'm broke. Lol, any good VPNs? I'm a degen gambler, wasted 94K. You can just use a VPN. I've wagered effing 300K on Roobet and made Steve rich off referrals. Guys, can you play live games on Roobet with a VPN? Yes. But just in case none of that convinced you, I've saved my best argument for last. My trap card, if you will, for all these gambling streamers. The one thing that they will be unable to defend. Offshore crypto casinos are completely indefensible because of their lack of IDing people and responsible gambling controls. Because right now, if you're a gambling addict, you can go to your local casino and ban yourself if you have a problem. It's a very common practice called self-exclusion. But online crypto casinos don't let you do that, as gambling addicts who I interviewed told me.
Yeah, so I think that the biggest problem is, like, typically with any other regulated gambling site, you have self-imposed restrictions.
You sign up to it, they take your details, and they ban you from any gambling websites, betting websites, anything like that. And it's brilliant. That was probably the thing that enforced my recovery the most, because, you know, as much as I wanted to gamble, I couldn't.
If you tried to make a new account, you can't. You'll last for about 1 second before the system says, hey, no, this is you, and you have a gambling problem. With crypto casinos, it's not that. They don't really care.
Why would they have to care? They're in Curacao. They don't have to worry about, I mean, what are you
Yeah, no doubt, eh?
I mean, I didn't have to give a passport, any kind of ID, any kind of verification of who I was. So, you know, I could have been a child, and it just so happened I was a vulnerable adult.
I mean, you can close your account, they'll do it for you, but you can sign up with a new email under the exact same ID that you just uploaded, not even a different picture, the exact picture, and continue on your way.
A lot of people talk about the harm to children that this might bring, but there's a lot of adults out there who have a gambling disorder, which is a brain disorder, and they're being preyed on by one of the most exploitative and profit-making industries. It's absolutely sick, in my opinion.
He's right. This is the real problem with offshore gambling in Curacao. The fact that anyone from anywhere, regardless of their age or if they're addicted to gambling, they can just jump on these casinos anytime. And by the way, that doesn't just apply to Roobet. It also applies to Stake and Roobet'S as well. All of these crypto casinos located offshore. And these companies, the reason they make recovery for gambling addicts a million times harder because they don't let themselves exclude, the reason they do that, it makes them more money. And because they're offshore, nobody can tell them otherwise. Why would you turn a potential customer away? After all, a gambling addict is a great customer for a casino. And the craziest part is that this shady, scummy business is being pushed not by criminals, not on the dark web, but by the biggest streaming platform and influencers in the world. And why? Have you ever asked yourself, why are almost all the top streamers all sponsored by crypto casinos instead of more regulated casinos? The answer is actually quite simple. Offshore casinos have less regulation, which means more customers allowed in, which means more money to spend on influencers, which means they get the contract, right? It's actually pretty simple when you think about it, but remember where that extra money is coming from gambling addicts and people who shouldn't be gambling in the first place. Now, at this point, I want to confront Stevewilldoit already. You know, we've talked to Nelk already. Now it's time for Steve. But before we can do that, we need to find some hard evidence to confront him with. And I realized I still have questions. So I started digging around and I created this. Let's go to the conspiracy board real quick. So this is Roobet, or at least the money flowing into Roobet. The center is what we call Roobet's hot wallet on Ethereum, where all the money flows in, and the outside are all the wallets depositing money into the casino. And the reason I made this, wait, why did I make this? Oh yeah, because it looks cool, and because it demonstrates the scope of Roobet's operation. Because the first thing I wanted to know is how much money is Roobet making, right? How much are any of these crypto casinos making? And so tracking the money that flows in is a big part. But of course, casinos don't keep all the money that flows in, only what players lose. So in order to estimate the profit, we also need to see the money flowing out. And so I made this. These are some wallets that some ordinary gamers and I tracked down as being key to some of the owners of Roobet. We'll talk more in part 6 about how we did this and who owns these wallets. But for now, just know this gives us a very rough idea of how much money these guys are making. In total, all these crypto wallets over here deposited a total of $1.2 billion in Ethereum into Roobet. And over here, the top 10 Ethereum wallets, many of which are owned by the owners of Roobet, have pulled out $300 million of that. Meaning, I should start an unregulated crypto casino. I'm just kidding. No, actually, it just means that this is an insanely lucrative business, obviously. And this is only Ethereum. We haven't even calculated Bitcoin yet, which is probably worth more. It's just a little harder to get an exact number on that for reasons I won't bore you with. But the point is, not only are they making a lot, but we also know the crypto casinos are a low expense business, meaning most of it is profit. Really, the only cost is licensing the slot machines, paying some employees, and really marketing with these influencers. Ultimately, all these casinos care about is getting more numbers on the board, more people in the door. It's a very simple game for them. So this is where influencers come in, right? These guys actually are the lifeblood of these casinos. They're the ones who drive fresh meat into these casinos to gamble, which explains why they get paid so much. And by the way, just so we're all clear, Roobet, which we focused on because the biggest clowns promote it, isn't the biggest crypto casino. Actually, Roobet is the baby brother of the offshore casino world, but in the way that Shaq is maybe the baby brother of Yao Ming. He's still massive, but you know, it's just all relative. The truth is there's an even bigger crypto casino we haven't talked about, Stake. Think about it this way. Roobet has done 2 billion wagers on their site. By comparison, Stake has done 45 billion wagers, making Stake over 20 times larger and a $1 billion business. So maybe a good comparison isn't Shaq and Yao Ming, but more like Peter Dinklage and Yao Ming. Either way, they're both absolutely raking in the money. Now, you may know Stake because of the influencers like Trainwrecks who gamble with them. They're really no better at all than Roobet, especially with the KYC issue, which we've already flagged as being the most important thing. These people just let gambling addicts in and ruin their lives. But many of these influencers will claim that they tell people not to gamble, to not bet more than they lose. Are these influencers really impacting anybody? Well, to find that out, let's go to the main desk, sort it out. So here's the thing. I wanted to know exactly how much of an impact these streamers were having. So I decided I needed to dig into affiliate numbers. Remember, these are the codes that these guys give you, like code Stevewilldoit, code Bradley Martin, code Logan Paul's friend. These numbers tell us exactly how many people these guys are bringing into these casinos. Now, luckily for us, Stevewilldoit in particular accidentally leaked these numbers in a stream, not once, but twice. Once in April of 2020 and once in May of 2021, actually giving us a really nice 1-year sample size of how many people someone like Stevewilldoit will bring in a given year. So here's his numbers from April 1 year ago. You can see he has almost no deposits, only 173 depositors and 546 deposits. This was at the beginning of his streaming career. But fast forward a year later, and this guy has 22,000 unique depositors, and these people have deposited 324,000 times in total. Now, if we zoom in here and actually have the computer enhance, we find that Stevewilldoit has made $1.7 million off of affiliate codes alone. So let's understand what this means. Steve is a mid-sized to large gambling streamer, and in 1 year, he brought in 22,000 new accounts, and those people deposited on average about 15 times each. And mathematically, 3 to 5% will become problem gamblers or addicts, which means Steve onboarded about 600 to 1,100 gambling addicts in 1 year, going off the statistics. Good job, Steve. And the price for doing that was $1.7 million. But of course, that isn't the only way Steve made money from Roobet. That's just affiliates. He's making much more, but it was hard pinning down his income exactly. We found a bunch of other things like his Ethereum deposit wallets and a Bitcoin deposit wallet, but every time we confronted Steve with a wallet we thought belonged to him, it was like Patrick Star and Manta Ray in SpongeBob. Aren't you Stevewilldoit?
Yep.
And this is you playing Roobet.
Yep.
I found this deposit wallet in your stream. And if that's the case, this wallet belongs to you.
That makes sense to me.
Then take accountability.
It's not my wallet. Oh, you gimbal! Take back your wallet!
Yeah, suffice to say, I was going crazy, okay? You know, here's this guy saying he's going to be a billionaire in 3 to 5 years, but in DMs, it's a totally different story, ladies and gentlemen. Steve told me not only is he not a billionaire, he told me he doesn't even have $1 million. He sent me a screenshot of his bank account to prove it. Quote, I don't even have $1 million. And he said right after that, look at my YouTube videos, bro. Look at how much I spend. Look at how my parents live and what they have. I'm not claiming to make a little. I'm telling you, I spend 100% of what I have on my YouTube videos. I haven't saved $1 in like 5 months. Now, okay, I'll be honest. I felt this was a bit of a cop-out, right? He's claiming to spend 100% of what he makes on YouTube videos, but his YouTube videos are just him spending money on assets, like watches and properties. I mean, are they dumb purchases? Yes. But in watches alone, he spent $2 million in 2 months.
2 months, Steve spent $2.5 million. He's crazy. Touching 3 almost after this week.
So when Steve says he hasn't saved money in 5 months, he means cash, but he has gained assets, however dumb they are. And I confronted Steve on this, and he told me, quote, I own 7 cars, but bought 20 for other people. I own 9 watches, but have gifted 10. I own 4 properties, but have gifted 3 properties away. And I replied, so you're worth more than $3 million. Oh my gosh, this is making no sense. He says, you don't understand my YouTube channel. Now, he is right about that. I don't understand it. But even though he's worth way more than $1 million, I really did kind of think this was a bit pathetic. I mean, it reminded me of these professional athletes that make millions of dollars and end up broke. Like, I mean, this guy's taking private jets, flexing watches, but at the end of the day, he's spending everything. And it just all struck me as so pointless. Like, especially when considering where the money came from, getting his fans addicted to gambling. Now, before we go further, there's one other thing I should mention, and it's that Steve told me that he made so much money on Roobet, not just because of the gambling, but because of what he had been doing for Wizza as well. He told me it in DMs. You don't even know why I make so much. I asked, why? He replied, I promote Wizza completely free. That's the only reason I make money off Roobet. I was offered a bag, not cryptocurrency, for promotion of Wizza. I said no because I can't do that on YouTube because my whole thing is no paid ads on YouTube. That's why when I go to Mexico, I was able to stream with 1 to 2K viewers and make good money off stream. Wow. It is true that Steve constantly is telling people how much he promotes Wizza for free because they're his buddies.
I'm doing this for them. They're paying me $0.
I know like there's been some controversy. They talk about this like Wizza thing, right? Yeah. And I know firsthand like that you do not collect money from that because you're grateful for the other opportunities that the people who like basically created that company gave you.
But what he's telling us here contradicts that. He's simply saying because he doesn't take a paycheck with Wizza, he gets more of a paycheck over on Roobet, which totally contradicts Wizza's whole point to myself and Mudahar that they're totally separate from Roobet. Remember, Wizza this whole time has been trying to convince everybody that them and Roobet are completely separate entities. But Stevewilldoit is saying very clearly that his relationship with Roobet is dependent on how much he promotes Wizza. He said it even more explicitly later on, quote, I only started to make good money because I would do these Wizza ads for free. Like, if I would have accepted taking money from Wizza, my Roobet numbers would be significantly lower. Poking a few holes in Wizza's story there. But at this point, I realized it was kind of going in circles, trying to get him to fess up to how much money he's making. It was time to quit the foreplay. I decided I needed to get Stevewilldoit on the phone, and I decided to ask him the golden question. Can you just tell me how much you're making on Roobet? Like, is it $1 million a month? Is it $2 million a month? What is it?
I mean, it's really like how much am I able to go and travel? And it's whatever, like, I really want it, not what I want it to be. Like, it can't be like a lot, but yeah, I mean, it could be like 500 to sometimes like closer to the million, like, per month.
Wow. Annualized, that's $6 to $12 million a year. Pretty wild, especially since he's probably lowballing this. Either way, it's insane. $12 million a year to spin some slots on Twitch. But the craziest part of this conversation came when Steve started talking about why he even partnered with Roobet in the first place. You won't believe this.
It was just one of those things. I love to gamble. I gambled a lot. It was kind of disgusting. And it was kind of like a great way for me to not gamble with my own money, right?
What? He partnered with a gambling company as a way to gamble without spending his own money. It seems insane. And like, do you see that as a problem? I mean, because I literally have a clip of you being like, I thought about putting my own money in, but who needs that kind of stress? And it's like, oh, this is insane. Because basically what you're doing, you're an ambassador for a company trying to get your fans to gamble with their own money, but then you yourself don't want to gamble with your money. You know what I mean? You know how that comes off.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, I do gamble as in sports and shit still, but I do get what you're saying. I just, I stopped playing at the casino and shit.
Why?
Because I have no control, man. And I have a credit. No control. I mean, I gamble. I mean, if I go to the casino, I gamble, but now it's like little money.
But wait. But don't you see the problem there? It's like, if you're saying like, oh man, I got to stop gambling, I have no control, and then you're making the majority of your money from getting other people to gamble while you yourself don't really want to do it anymore, like, isn't that kind of like a problem?
It's definitely, it could be a problem because gambling's not good.
Wow. Not good is right. Steve is admitting here that not only does he have a gambling problem, his solution was to get a gambling sponsorship so that he wouldn't have to stop gambling. But now his losses are just his fans' losses and he makes a ton of money. It's insane. Now, to Steve's credit, unlike a lot of other gambling influencers, he didn't shy away from the fact that, oh yeah, this is bad. But again, what's weird here is, and I couldn't believe it during the conversation, it seems that Steve never seems to have had this thought before, that offshore gambling might be bad. In fact, not only has apparently he never thought of it, he says no one in his inner circle of friends ever mentioned it either.
Maybe if you were like my friend, like in real life, and no one's approached me and said anything like this, that, hey, Steve, you know what you're doing is wrong, this, that, I've never been approached like that,
Yeah.
Like, no one's even close to me has ever said, like, yo, like, you should really rethink what you're doing. It's wrong. Like, I never had that. And I never thought that I was doing anything wrong, personally.
This is just sad, honestly. I can't read Steve's mind. I'll say it right up front. He could definitely be lying about this whole thing. But I don't know if that's the case here. Based on what I've seen of Stevewilldoit, I believe he actually thought to himself, oh, I'm the good guy. I'm not one of those scammers. I'm the good guy. And it was weird to hear him sort of in real time, it's sinking in that, oh, maybe this Roobet stuff was really bad.
Now, is there a way where it's like, you just make this like right? Because I'm not here saying, oh, no, nothing's wrong with gambling and shit. Like, is there a way to make this right with you? I'm here. I don't need to do Roobet ever again.
Wow. I don't know about you, but if there was ever a confession, that's it. Steve admitted here that what he was doing is wrong and that he would quit. He later says it even more explicitly.
Well, no, I've already made that decision. Like before saying that it was right. If I saw like that's already decided.
You're done with Roobet.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a way to do it right. But yeah, as of right now, I'm done. I mean, unless you get on the phone and be like, hey, Steve, this is how you do it right.
Now, let's be honest. Is Steve doing this mostly because he got caught and not all because of some ethics realization? Yeah, probably. Let's not be naive. This is good for Steve's brand to stop gambling at this point. But nonetheless, would Steve quitting offshore gambling be a good gesture? Yes. Because ultimately, this isn't a story about Stevewilldoit making millions, even though it might have started that way. This has become a story about the gambling addicts who are suffering because of the offshore crypto casinos who are relentlessly targeting them. And even one influencer standing up, stopping and saying, this was wrong, that matters. However, that being said, there was another part of me that after this call, I couldn't help but think that Steve is just one influencer in a chain of influencers, all of them attracted by insane money and not willing to look at the result of their own actions and willing to look the other way. And the problem is, it's sort of an endless supply of Steves. As soon as one Stevewilldoit won't do it, another Steve will do it. You know what I mean? I learned this when talking about that Aiden Ross clip. I put on Twitter that clip of Aiden Ross demeaning himself in front of tens of thousands of people. And I said, would you do this for $1 million a month? And I meant it as a joke, but the answer was overwhelming. Basically, y'all all would. And that kind of seems obvious in hindsight, but it made me look at this case a little bit differently. And it brought back some things people had told me along the way about how to approach this whole thing.
We can do what Hassan and Ethan did and spend hours arguing with Trainwreck about, how morally bad this is and you shouldn't be doing this. But if somebody came to me tomorrow and said, I'm going to pay you $1 million a month, I'd say, yeah. Even in my position as somebody who's been through the harm that gambling can cause, I understand that people need money.
That's a really good point. If ultimately the goal is to stop offshore gambling preying on addicts, how do we solve that? Is it by showing people getting their lives ruined by gambling? Because I can do that. I've talked to so many gambling addicts over the last week, and some of their stories were so brutal that I was literally at a loss for words. How much money are you in debt right now?
More than 30,000. I can't sleep, and I have people I need to pay by the end of the month, and I'm just mentally completely destroyed. And before I call you, I was watching a video how to end your life. That's how bad it's getting into me right now. I feel so stupid.
It got dark, and I can show you over and over and over again clips that would horrify you. These people are saying the same thing. They're relapsing because unregulated gambling doesn't let them self-exclude. I can make that case 5 ways till Friday about why unregulated gambling is bad. And I might convince a few people, or maybe shame a few influencers into quitting this garbage practice of selling out your fans. But again, we know there's always going to be some scumbag willing to look the other way because it's life-changing money. So what do? Obviously, I'm no expert in this stuff, so I decided instead to just ask the addicts I talk to. What do they think should be done?
I think Twitch need to stop every streamer that promote unregulated casinos.
I mean, personally, I'm in favor of just shutting it down on Twitch altogether.
Simple as that. Promote casino that they are regulated means I can play on them, and if I think I'm becoming an addict, they will shut your account and things like this.
I don't think a platform that knows that the percentage of young people on their platform is 17-20%, whatever it was. They shouldn't be allowing this, especially not promoting it, suggesting it.
So there you go. That's what they say should be done. And for what it's worth, I agree. Twitch needs to do something. And I think they understand that because they've already been removing gambling affiliate codes from their influencers' pages. But is that enough? Ultimately, for an industry that is completely dependent on influencer marketing, Twitch could make some big changes that would radically help gambling addicts and lead to more compliance worldwide. Because let's be honest, if these billion-dollar crypto casinos knew, for example, that it wouldn't be tolerated on Twitch for them to not check IDs or allow VPNs, you better believe they would change their rules and shape up. they have enough money to do proper compliance. They have billions of dollars. The only reason they don't do anything is because Twitch doesn't care right now. But I don't mean to ignore influencers here either, because the solution involves them too. We've shown today with numbers how many people this is hurting. And we've demonstrated that without these influencers, these casinos wouldn't work. So if you're an influencer, you can be part of the solution too. Just consider not partnering with offshore, unregulated casinos. But hey, that's just my suggestion. And what do I know? I'm just a guy in his $10 million studio doing my research. Research that is about
finished waiting for this drink, Maxwell. Come on, what has happened to this place's service?
Oh, and like you're one to talk about making people wait. Here you go, Speedy Gonzalez. Don't forget to pay your tab this time.
Thanks, and sorry. Listen, the reason I'm in here is I want to tell you about a little project I've been working on, secretly, never been released.
Ooh, tell me it's an actual flying Lambo, and not just that CGI-looking thing.
No, it's not an actual... Wait, what the... Are you really breaking the wall right now? I don't have time for this. We're literally ending the video. No, it's not a flying Lamborghini. It's actually the last episode in this series, part 6, coming soon, guys. You thought it was over. It's not. We'll see you next time on Some Ordinary Gamers with Roobet'S House of Cards.